Hey, elite educators and purposeful parents. Welcome to another video, or welcome back to another video. Today's video, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things. How to infuse globalization into your lessons, and also just what's on my heart right now in regards to refugees. So, let me just introduce myself. I am Kimberly Deneen with Education Noir, where we give you the best tips and tools to level up your practice for student growth and achievement. And today's video, I want to share with you what I have been doing with. I'm hearing like a really loud truck. Hopefully, I hope that you all can hear me over the loud traffic outside. I wanted to film again in my living room. I'm giving you a whole nother view. So hopefully you enjoy a new space of recording for me and it with me. So I wanted my students to have a deeper knowledge of what a refugee is and some possible experiences of refugees. So, and the whole purpose for me sharing this information with them is because we are reading a book about a Haitian family. So I started off our unit with this book. I started off by showing them the movie called The Good Lie, which stars Reese Witherspoon, and that particular movie is about the civil war that took place in Sudan. It actually was the longest civil war in the history of the world. And it just basically it's based on a true story. It gives an account of um, what these children went through to flee to safety. Some of them had to actually walk thousands of miles to get to a safe place. And it's about an account of this what was it, four or five specific children who were in a Sudanese village, and their parents were, of course, murdered, and they had to flee and they had to survive. So that's what the movie is about. Eventually, they end up at a refugee camp in Kenya, and then that particular not family, I'll say family because they weren't all blood related, but they end up getting to a U.S. State. And so the movie gave my students a whole nother perspective of what refugees go through. And I think the cool thing about that particular movie, The Good Lie, is that when the children grow up, it's the people who actually went through that horrific experience. So I showed them that movie, and then we also heard from a speaker that's working with an organization called Seven Elements, based in the Dominican Republic, where there are a group of Haitians who were there for a few generations after the sugarcane plantations shut down, and they're still there. And that's a whole nother video for another time. Um, so anyway, they heard from that speaker, and then I gave each of my students. Some students got more than one topic. My larger class got one topic of Haiti that they had to research and then present to the other students. So we just finished a whole unit on Haiti. We did a deep dive into what refugees are, what their experiences may look like. And then this new story comes up about over a little over 100 Haitian migrants who came by boat, ended up in Florida, and they're going to be processed and returned back to Haiti. Okay, so so I'm going to show you a picture of what I showed my students. I will post the link of the actual news report, which is like a ABC channel on YouTube. I'll post the actual link so that you can see it as well. I'll also post the link for the movie The Good Lie, which is a phenomenal movie. My students were like, I teach all boys. They were into this movie. And one day they were like kind of mad because they wanted to keep watching the movie, but I think we had like something come up, and you know, those students who I the students who I least expected to like really get into this movie got into this movie. So and I think movies are a great way to grab your students, a great way to introduce topics, and you know, just to get students engaged. They didn't even mind doing the questions because they had a lot of questions that they had to do after each viewing session of the movie. And I didn't want to impose my perspective, you know, on the students. I wanted them to come up with their own perspectives, right? Which is a global competency, right? Perspective taking, you know, having your own perspective, and, you know, hearing other people's perspective and respecting other people's perspective. I wanted them to do all that on their own. So when I showed them this not movie, but the YouTube report about the Haitians who came to the coast, came to Florida, you know, by boat. And I'm sure that that was not an easy journey for them. And it wasn't like it was a motorized boat. It was just a boat. Um, I wanted my students to have their own perspective as far as these Haitian people being processed and then sent back to Haiti. So I think what's on my heart right now as an American is I just heard that President Joe Biden is allowing 100,000 Ukrainian refugees to come to the US. But we turned away a little over 100 Haitian refugees, right? And I'm going to call them refugees because if you know anything about Haiti, you probably heard that their president was assassinated a couple of years ago, and there are vigilantes in the country who have been killing people, and the poverty in Haiti is warfare itself, right? No, they're not bombs, but there are definitely people with guns for the Haitian president to be assassinated the way he was. And there has to be some serious issue if a person is willing to take a boat ride, which I'm sure took them a long time, because we're not talking about a motorized boat. For them to take that journey, it has to be a dire situation. And in addition to showing my students the movie, having the speaker comes to them from Seven Elements, I also, and them, of course, researching on their own about Haiti. I also showed them, and I am a Fulbright fellow, so a lot of the materials that I use with my students now, the global materials that I use with them, are what I learned from the Fulbright program, Teachers for Global Classrooms. And one of them is a website called Gapminder. And I will post that also in the description so you can see it. Well, there's a section on the website called Dollar Street. And um, a student or whoever goes to the site can go on that section of the site and look up how a family lives around the world, and see what they make a month. Like, so, for instance, for Haiti, they had about 4 or 5 families, and I'll also include some of the pictures in this video. You will see them. They had about 4 or 5 families. The highest income per month for the out of the 4 or 5 families was $149 a month. And so I showed the students how the family's home looked. They were able to see that. They were able to see like the bedrooms, the bathroom, which is nothing but a floorboard with a hole in the middle of the floorboard. They were able to see their cooking utensils, their books, um, and then also just read a little bit about like what that family's aspirations are, what they hope, you know, for the future. So it is a form of warfare that's happening in Haiti, and I'm not feeling good as an American that we are bending over backwards for those in the Ukraine. Yes, I get that their situation is dire as well. I'm not saying that it's not. It definitely is. I just don't understand why we can accept 100,000 Ukrainians and turn away a little over 100 Haitian people. So I'm grappling with it right now, and I'm just really feeling some kind of way about it. And I in my quiet time this morning, I prayed about it. I cried about it. You know, I'm just not feeling good about it right now. And then not only is Joe Biden, of course, allowing the 100,000 Ukrainians, and there'll probably be more. I noticed that there's an HBCU, Hampton University, who is giving them room and board and tuition, and that's great. I and that's for the African Ukrainians. You know, I think that's great. I just think we need to also remember our Haitian brothers and sisters as well, because their situation is dire as well. So I'm just, you know, I just wanted to bring awareness. I want my students to be aware. I think we all need to be aware of what is going on in the world. I talk to I talk to my students about not just Haiti, but I show them, even though I'm my students right now, I'm certified in ESL, French, and I'm a reading specialist or literacy specialist, however you want to call it. But currently I am teaching French. So my students are learning French. However, I still talk to them about what's going on in the world, not just the francophone world, but anywhere in the world. If the story is, um, something I think they need to know, just check their pulse, see what they're aware of. I think it's important that I share that with them. So we are currently reading a book called Un Voyage Difficile. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video for a second and grab the book because I forgot to bring it with me. Okay, I'm back. So this is the book. It's called Un Voyage Difficile. We are currently on chapter 2 in this book. This book, of course, is all in French. So the students are learning about this character. His name is Jamil. They're learning about his family. They've just read that the family, and this is fiction, but it's not fiction because like these are the things that are really happening in Haiti. So they just learned that it's a family of five, the husband, the wife, and then there are two girls and a boy. And so they learned that in reading the first two chapters that the husband has two jobs, and the wife has two jobs, and they still can't make ends meet, right? They still never have enough money just to survive, right? So, so I guess in reading this, um, and then you're going to see some pictures from that website I was telling you about called Gapminder, the Dollar Street section. I'm going to show you some of the pictures that my students saw so that you can see, how typical families are living. Of course, you have a class of people in Haiti. Of course, you have your haves, right? And you have your have nots, and that's probably an understatement, right? However, there's no real middle class in Haiti. It's either you're rich or you're extremely poor. And there's no middle class. Um, so anyway, I wanted to just share, and I'll put this down there. Just share, just I just don't, for me, it's hard for me not to think of this as a racial choice that you are opening your doors to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees willingly. Of course, you can come, you're welcoming them to the country, and yet you turn away a little over 100 Haitian migrants. So I'm just, I'm feeling pretty somber. I've been feeling melancholy for a little while now, just because what are they going back to? You know, if they came here, then they may have a chance at a different life. And reading some of the comments on the YouTube video that ABC put out about the story, which just happened like a couple of weeks ago, right? That these Haitian migrants came to Florida. This is not like an old story. This just happened. Um, so what are they going back to? I just I just wanted to just share like what's on my heart and what's in my mind right now, and just how I'm feeling as an American right now. And I'm just really feeling for my Haitian brothers and sisters. So you're gonna see a couple of pictures now. I'm gonna show you the screenshot of the story. I'm gonna also include that in the comments in the description of this video. And I know this is a little bit of a heavy video. Um, we're just living in heavy times right now. I'm not, of course, I'm just like when all of the issues happened in Russia when they first attacked um, the Ukrainians, I felt I, I just started feeling somber at that time. Um, I take sometimes a fast from the news, just because I tend to internalize things, and sometimes I hold it, and then at a certain point I process it, and sometimes I process it. It may come out in a form of anger. It may come out in tears because I'm sad. Um, but nonetheless, I incubate, right? These news stories, when I hear them, the shootings, the unarmed shootings of Black people here, I, I've, I tend to hold that stuff, and it just incubates, and it comes out in, after I process it for a minute. It could, I'm sometimes I'm very, very angry about it, and sometimes it's just like so much sadness that I just break down and cry because of what's happening. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of this is why I have been seeking international employment, so that I can leave um, leave this country and just feel free, and it's just you know Haitian refugees versus Ukrainian refugees. It just feels like, oh well, the Ukrainian refugees have more value, so we want them, right? But the Haitian refugees have no value, no perceived value. So we're going to just send them back. We're just going to send them back. We don't want them. So it's just very difficult sometimes being a Black woman here in this country. And I just, to reel it all back in, I really just wanted my students to be aware. I wanted them to be woke. I wanted them to see what's really going on in the world. And I pray that that this lesson, takes root and causes them to take action in some way. That's one of the global competencies, right? To take action. It could even be just that they, talk to someone else about what they learned. One of their friends, one of their family members, whatever the case may be. I just pray that they take action. Um, I actually have been thinking about how we could take action as a class in regards to Haiti. So, and if you're watching this and you have thoughts on how my class can take action, please definitely post in the comments. Post, in the comments about what you do. That may be difficult. Like, this stuff is not easy to see. And you're going to see in a minute with these pictures. It's not easy to see when, when I can come home to a comfortable couch. You know, I have 2 bathrooms, and I live here by myself. I have 2 full bathrooms. I have 2 bedrooms, but they got to use the bathroom in a floor on a floorboard. You're gonna see it. So, I'm just hoping that my students will stay woke, and that these things that they learn now will cause them to take action in some way. So I'm just going to show you some of the pictures now, and I'll be right back after the pictures.
Family portrait.
Non, il va pas bien, il va pas bien.
Okay. Okay. Okay, if we could just do that one more time. I'm just adjusting. If she could, yeah, just come out and do the whole thing one more time.
So you have seen the pictures, you've seen some of the video footage of how some Haitian families are living. And what I really wanted to share with you is just the four domains of the global competencies: investigate the world, taking perspectives, communicating ideas, and taking action. So I, encourage you, to um, bring the world into your classroom. And I know there's a lot of gag orders going on across the country, and what we can talk about with our students. However, as much as possible, bring the world into your classroom and let your students, let them communicate their ideas. Let them take perspectives and discuss their perspectives with one another. And that will probably be the best way around some of these gag orders, which I'm going to talk about real soon in another video: critical race theory. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to tell the truth about it, and without all of the sensationalization and all the hype that's going on about critical race theory. I'm going to talk about it in very soon in an upcoming video. So I, I pulled myself together. This has been a very emotional week for me. However, it's still good to be able to share information with the students and have the students grapple with these things. And I didn't say, maybe they turn the Haitian, the Haitian migrants away because they're Black. My students said that themselves. So it's just been an interesting week. It's just been an interesting. We're in interesting times. However, do do the work. Do the work with your students. As much as possible, infuse global education into your curriculum. No matter what curriculum what you teach, what subject you teach, there's a way to infuse global education into your practice, and it's really pretty much how it's the lens we look through, right? The global competencies are the lens in which we look through as we um, introduce content to our students. So I hope that you got some value out of this video. Please definitely give it a thumbs up, and so that other people can see the video. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel and click the notification bell so that way you will know when I upload and publish new videos. So thank you for watching all the way to the end, and please post in the comments, whatever's on your heart, whatever you're feeling about this war with Russia and Ukraine, about the Haitians being turned away, um, and definitely check out the resources that I left in the description box. And you can also go to the video that I showed the students um, about the Haitians being turned away. You can watch that video yourself. You can also look at the comments. The comments were very interesting. Some people were just saying, Haitians shouldn't be turned away when they're seeking asylum. It's just very interesting. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.